Okay, so we're going to create this three-dimensional object here in Fusion using the isometric and the orthographic views of it and with the given dimensions. So I'm going to open up a new canvas here in Fusion, and then I'm actually going to insert that particular image. So to insert an image into Fusion, we're going to go to Insert tab, Canvas. I'm going to insert it from my computer. Got it in downloads, and I believe it's this one here. And then I'm going to pick the particular plane. I'm going to choose the vertical plane to put it in. I don't press. Let's see if we can expand it a bit. Okay. So there it is. If I look at the right-hand view, there is my image that I'm going to be using to create this. Alright, so let me go back into home on my view cube. And you always start a sketch by saving it. So I'm going to save it as 3D2. And then it's always a good idea to start a new component. Again, this is just comprised of one component, but it's a good habit to get into. And I'm going to call this another bracket, I guess. And press OK. And you can see it shows up here on our browser. So to start, we always start with a sketch. So I'm going to go to Create Sketch up here. I'm going to choose the plane that I'm going to draw on. I'm going to choose this vertical plane here. Now, just to back up a little bit, if we explore the browser here, if we go to Document Settings, that's going to give us a units. We can click on that and change it to inches if we want, but there's no need. And then I also have my origin, which has been that eyeball that has been crossed out, means the visibility is turned off. So I'm going to turn that back on, and that gives us our different origins here. And again, I'm using that, what we would call the ZY plane here. So if I open that up here, this ZY plane is what I am currently using. Okay. So, using this in the background as my guide, I'm going to start drawing some lines. So, I'm going to go to my line command. I'm always going to start at the origin point and drop my line there. I know that it goes 10 millimeters over. And I'm going to continue. It's going to go 1 millimeter up. And then 5 millimeters over again. I can draw a line. I know there's one that goes, it's a little hard to see, but it goes 6 millimeters up vertically. I'm not going to worry about the radius or the fillet for now. It's always a good idea, apparently, to do the fillets after the three-dimensional body is created, rather than in the sketch, for simplicity's sake. And then I'm going to go 1 millimeter over to the right, and then just connect that line, as I don't know what the angle is. So there it is, right there. My particular very rudimentary sketch. So now that I got that, I'm going to go to finish the sketch, and just keep in mind I got all these dimensions here. I can play with those, move them into a better position if I like to. And then on my sketch palette here, I can turn those dimensions off if things are getting really cluttered. I can also turn off these constraints as well. So I'm just left with that particular image. I can also, you can see here I got my canvas. I can turn that off too if it's getting in the way. Okay. That's my visibility over here. Okay, so now I'm done with my sketch for now. And I'm going to press the shift button and my mouse wheel, and that's going to allow me to orbit around a little bit so I can see it a little better. And now I'm going to add, again, that third dimension to it by extruding it. So I'm going to click up here on extrude. It selects the only profile that I actually have. I'm going to turn off my origin. And you can extrude it out either way, in either direction, doesn't really matter. I'm going to go back with it. And I know, looking at my this particular drawing that it goes 5 millimeters back. So I'm gonna press OK. Now you'll notice that it extruded in the direction I didn't want to go, or wasn't intending to go. That doesn't really matter. But if I would have gotten -5, it would have gone in the other direction. Okay, so that is a very rudimentary three-dimensional shape. Now what I can do is start adding my fillets to round over this edge here, that edge there, and that back edge. So I'm going to do all of those at once. So I'm going to go to my modify portion of my toolbar and go to my fillet icon. And I'm going to click on these two edges here, and I can click more than one at a time. And if I look here, faintly, I can see that the radius is going to be 1 of those, of that round over, of that fillet. So I'll change that to 1. And there I got my 2 fillets. Now I can add a fillet too by pressing that plus sign. And I'm going to go to the back here, click on that one, and that one is going to be rounded over. Again, looking at my dimension, that's actually going to be rounded over 1 as well. So I'm going to add that too, press OK. So I've created all my fillets in one go. Now I got one more to do that we'll tackle in a moment. Okay, the next thing I want to do is add these holes to the bottom base here. So these holes here, and they got a diameter of 1. Now I can do that in 2 different ways. I'm going to use the hole command for that under the create tab. So I'm going to click on that there, and it's going to prompt me for a particular plane, so I can do a hole on this surface, on that surface, on one of my work planes back here, and you'll notice whatever I have my cursor on, that's what's going to highlight it. So I want my holes to be on this plane here, on this surface, so I'm going to click on that, and it just plops down a hole. So now I can drag that into the position I want to. Now notice very faintly you see a couple points that are highlighted, and that happens to be where my hole is going to go on the same center point of my radius of the fillet I just added. So it's going to want to default there. It's going to want to snap to that point, which is perfect. Obviously that hole is too big, and if I look at my orthographic sketch, it's got a diameter of 1. So I can change that by grabbing that here, bringing it in, and changing the value to 1 millimeter. So I'm going to press OK. And there's my hole, and I'm going to do another one. Same surface. It's going to be 1, and I'm going to drag it onto that snap point, which is the center point of my radius. Press OK. Now, you know that the radius of this particular fillet shares the center point of that hole because it's just got that one center mark here. And that center mark is going to be the same for both the radius and the actual hole. Okay, so those are my holes. Now, I obviously have another hole that's not going to go all the way through. And we can see that here from the side profile, it goes down depth of 1 millimeter. We're going to do that a little bit differently. So in this case, we're going to draw a sketch on top of this particular surface. So again, whenever we start a new sketch, we're prompted, where would we like to put that sketch? And we can, again, pick one of these planes here, or we can pick a surface. So I obviously want to pick this plane, this surface here. So I'm going to click that, and then it's going to actually focus in orthographically on that particular plane. Okay. And if we take a look at our view cube here, we can see that that particular bracket is now tilted so that we've got a complete bird's eye view of that particular plane. All right, so the first thing I want to do is draw some guidelines. So if I take a look, let's see if I can do it here. Where is my image? Yeah, so let's go around that way. I know that the center point of that hole is 3.2 millimeters down, and I know that the radius of the hole is actually 3.2 minus the 1.8, which gives me 1.4. So the radius between that point and that point is 1.4, which gives me a diameter of 2.8. So I want to keep that in mind as I'm going through this. Okay, so whatever way I'm looking at it, it's still going to want to create my sketch on this plane. So it doesn't matter that I've now changed my perspective a little bit. So I'm going to start with a line, and over here on my sketch palette, I can actually change the line type. I'm going to change it to a construction line. And these are handy for laying out lines, guidelines, because it's not going to be recognized when you go to extrude something. So it's going to come in serrated, and you'll notice that it gives me that square icon telling me that I'm 90 degrees. And I'm going to go down 3.2 millimeters and press OK. So that locates the center of my circle. So I'm going to press the circle button here. And if you remember my diameter, now I want to get out of my construction because these lines I actually want to use to build. My diameter of the circle is 2.8. So with Fusion, we use diameter of circles, and with AutoCAD, we use radius or defaults to radius. So just keep that in mind too. It takes a little bit of getting used to. So I'm going to press OK there. And I'm done with my sketch. All right, so now I want to extrude it. So I'm going to go to my extrude button or press E, shortcut, select the profile. It's going to be that one there. And I'm going to change my operation to cut, as I want to actually cut through the material that I already have, that solid that I already have. So I'm going to go down 1 millimeter, and you'll notice that it pops up here as -1. And there's my hole there. The last thing I gotta do is add a fillet. So I'm gonna add a fillet to this inside edge here. Now keep in mind that a fillet can be like positive material or it can be negative material. We usually normally think of it as negative, or at least I do. So on this sharp corner that we had, we're actually taking away material to to round over the edge. Whereas on the inside of this circle here, we're gonna add material so that so we're softening the edge as well. So let's take a look at what that looks like. We're gonna go to the fillet command. I believe if we take a look at the drawing, it's 0.2 radius, a fillet of 0.2. So I'm gonna click on that edge first of all, type in 0.2 millimeters, and press OK. And there you can see it's actually added material to create that softened edge on the inside there. So there is my bracket in all its glory. I can again change the appearance if I want. I can press A, which brings me into this window here. And this time I'm going to make it, let's make it out of lead, satin lead. And it just changes it slightly from the default. If I wanted to change the color completely, I could go to paint. Let's go glossy, and I'll make it a glossy green. There we go. Okay, so that's how we complete the 3D, the second worksheet for our 3D models.